Cycle. On global television, we're live in the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Queen Agaba. The Federal Executive Council has approved the adoption of the Oronsaya report aimed at the reduction of cost of governance for implementation. Minister of Information and National Orientation Mohammed Idris disclosed this while briefing State House correspondents at the end of the FEC meeting presided over by President Bola Tinubu at the Presidential Villa, Abuja. The minister explained that with the adoption of the report, it means that some agencies, commissions, and departments of government have been scrapped, some merged, some subsumed under some others, and others moved on the new ministries where they are supposed to perform better. Vice President Kashim Shettima has launched the Light Up Nigeria Southeast Initiative in Enugu, describing it as the much-expected solution to the power supply deficit that has undermined the nation's economy and industrialization. He says the project, which is part of the priorities set by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to revamp the economy and ensure rapid industrialization, heralds renewed hope for industrialists, investors, and Nigerians who had to bear the brunt of the country's power challenges for so long. Shettima, during the project launch in Enugu, also commissioned the 181 megawatt geometric power plants in Aba, Abia State to accelerate power supply to industrial clusters in the region. The Senate has confirmed the appointment of Hafsat Abubakar Bakari as Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit, NFIU, which was forwarded to it by President Bola Tinubu. The confirmation was a sequel to the consideration of a report on the screening of the nominee presented by the Chairman, Senate Committee on Anti-Corruption and Financial Crimes, Senator Udende Memge Emmanuel, APC, Benue Northeast. Recall that President Bola Tinubu wrote to the Senate last week seeking the screening and subsequent confirmation of Hafsat Abubakar Bakari as Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit, NFIU. The federal government have said it would extend its social security payment net to graduates with qualifications from NCE and above. Addressing journalists after the Federal Executive Council meeting, the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edu, disclosed that the program would see unemployed Nigerian youths being paid stipend. Similarly, Edu stated that the federal government will urgently establish a consumer credit scheme to alleviate the pains of economic adjustment. He noted that the Chief of Staff to the President, Femi Gbajabiamila, will lead a committee that includes the Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, the Attorney General of the Federation, and himself, the Coordinating Minister of the Economy. Meanwhile, Kaduna State government has confirmed 5 deaths following Lassa fever outbreak in the state. The confirmation is in a report on the outbreak of the disease by the State Commissioner for Health, Umar Ahmed, in Kaduna State. She stated that an initial 6 samples were collected to confirm the outbreak, followed by another 6 samples from contacts, which were sent to Bayero University, Kano for analysis, with a 24 to 28-hour turnaround time for the result. According to the report, 99 contacts have so far been line listed and have been followed up as 19 others also developed some form of symptoms and their samples were collected. The commissioner said that the state government had so far taken some measures to combat the outbreak of the disease. The Nigerian Labour Congress and other related unions are preparing for the planned protest declared over the high cost of living, inflation, insecurity, and hardship in the country. Correspondents who arrived at the Labour House headquarters in Abuja noticed different union workers and other aggrieved Nigerians trooping into the Labour House. Also present are operatives of the Department of State Services. The NLC and the Trade Union Congress had on February 8 issued a 14-day nationwide strike notice to the federal government over the failure to implement the agreement reached on October 2nd following the removal of the fuel subsidy. In a more recent development, the Nigerian Labour Congress and other related unions have commenced their protest in Abuja over the high cost of living, inflation, insecurity and hardship in the country. Unions taking part in the protest include the Medical and Health Workers Union of Nigeria, the FCT Council, the National Association of Nigerian Nurses and Midwives, and the Nigerian Union of Teachers and Construction Workers Union, among others. The protest started from the Labour House headquarters in Abuja at exactly 9:36 a.m. Global Television will give you more updates as regards the protest. And now thousands of Nigerians have stormed the National Assembly complex in support of the reforms so far out in place by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to reposition the country. The protesters who converged at the Abuja Unity Fountain staged a peaceful walk to the National Assembly complex, calling on the Organized Congress (NLC) to call off the nationwide strike action. The protesters who brandished various placards in support of the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu-led administration called on the organized labor to call off the strike action in the interest of the nation. They urged the NLC to engage in a constructive dialogue with the government instead of grounding economic activities, exacerbating the issues and further making life hard for the common man. Erasmus Ekpang, the Cross River Commissioner for Information, says the proposed construction of Lagos-Calabar Coastal Superhighway will boost tourism and agriculture in the state. The commissioner, who spoke in an interview in Calabar, says that the coastal superhighway was long overdue. President Tinubu had on Monday at the Federal Executive Council meeting approved the construction of the coastal road. According to Ekpang, the road, when completed, will improve on the economy of Cross River and other states within the corridor of the coastal road. Moving on, the Kano Zonal Command of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has apprehended 11 suspects for engaging in currency racketeering in Kano State. The suspects were taken into custody following an intelligence-driven investigation that exposed a syndicate operating in proximity to the Central Bank of Nigeria branch along Lagos Street in Kano metropolis. The EFCC, in an official statement posted on its verified X handle, disclosed that the apprehended individuals were allegedly involved in the illicit sale of new Naira notes for commercial purposes. The Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps (NSCDC) says it has deployed a special intelligence team to monitor and stop illegal movement and hoarding of food commodities in Katsina State. The NSCDC Commandant Jamilu Indabawa disclosed this in Katsina. Indabawa disclosed this while receiving Jabiru Sauri, chairman of the committee set up by the state government to monitor the prices and movement of grains in the state. Earlier, Sauri, who is also the chief of staff to the governor, commended the NSCDC on their efforts across the state. He revealed that the task force was established to monitor the prices of foodstuffs, address hoarding of grains, movement of food commodities, and any acts that would lead to price hike. The Nigerian Customs Service has announced the suspension of the sale of foodstuffs following a stampede that reportedly killed 7 persons at the NCS Old Zonal Headquarters in the Yaba area of Lagos State. The Chief Superintendent of Customs and National Public Relations Officer for Comptroller General of Customs, Abdullahi Maiwada, in a statement disclosed the suspension of the exercise. Nigerian Customs had said it was selling seized food items at 10,000 naira per 25 kg to alleviate the people's suffering as a result of the current high cost of living and other economic hardships. On Friday, a pregnant woman and 6 others reportedly died in a stampede after some suspected hoodlums attempted to force their way into the Yaba Customs Office compound. The Nigerian Police Force have deployed anti-riot operatives in strategic locations ahead of its nationwide protest declared by the Nigerian Labour Congress. over the economic crunch in the country. The force spokesman, Olumuyiwa Adejobi, explained that policemen have been placed on red alert. The presidency and the police authorities had warned the NLC against carrying out the protest, which was stormed down by the Trade Union Congress and 65 civil society groups. But the NLC President Joe Ajaero insisted that the demonstration would go on as planned, hinging his decision on the economic situation and hardship in the country. You're watching News Cycle, coming to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. We're on Star Times, channel 276. Kindly follow us on all social media platforms using @Global TV NG and other handles now showing on your screen. When News Cycle returns, Senate loads National Agency for Science and Engineering Infrastructure on accelerated technology transfer. The news continues shortly with details of this and more stories right after this break. Please stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us. Now, if you've just joined us, this is Global Television, bringing you live broadcast of the News Cycle. Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center, CISLAC, has called on the National Assembly not to approve borrowing for recurrent expenditure and dilatory capital expenditure that adds no value to economic growth, wealth creation and development. Speaking at a press briefing with the Senate Press Corps in Abuja, the executive director of the center, Alwar Rafsanjani, decried the growing debt overhang, which he says has largely led to the nation's economic crisis. Kike Lomo-Okere now reports.
In exercising their oversight and investigative powers, CISLAC urged federal legislators to urgently investigate movement and spending of loans received by the past administration of President Muhammadu Buhari. Tracing a declined situation back to the last 5 years, Rafsanjani noted that by the current year, Nigerian debt profile would have climbed to 107.38 trillion naira from 97.9 trillion naira in 2023. He stated that the major concern is the management of rising public debt and the evident unavailability of details of how the government has spent the huge loan over the years.
Continue to worry us. You recall we've been here severally to draw the attention of the legislators that this kind of all the times that executive will send directive, because what I see is like directing the National Assembly to do that, not even asking them for their approval, because if it is asking them to critique or to look at it in the international interest, the National Assembly members will have known the repercussion, the consequences of continuously borrowing without even respect or without compliance with the fiscal responsibility law that clearly states what loans should be collected for. We cannot be borrowing money just for people to be doing party. We cannot be borrowing money for people to be traveling, without any commensurable, benefit to the nation. We cannot be borrowing money for people to simply be stealing, outright stealing the money.
Rafsanjani therefore called for a full-scale investigations into all loans taken by successive governments, especially the $3.4 billion World Bank facility, as reported by the Office of the Auditor General of the Federation in 2020.
From the money that they have borrowed, even the Auditor General had said that many of those monies have been actually cannot be accounted for. I'll give you an example. Nigeria borrowed $3.4 billion to help Nigerians against the COVID. Today, officially, Nigerian government, speaking to Nigerian government, said that those money cannot be accounted for. these are borrowed money. And the worst part of it is that Nigeria is borrowing a lot of money from commercial banks. So this laziness, this ruthless approach to collecting pre-money, easy money, not free money, because it's not free money. You have to pay. Nigerians must pay through their sweat. And some few individuals are collecting this money without cost to putting any developmental project. So if government is telling you that the money government collected is not accounted for, is stolen, so you can see that there's a problem.
The trajectory of revenue from the federal government shows a continuous decline in the past 5 years, with a 45% revenue shortfall in 2018, a 45% shortfall in 2019, 31% in 2020, and 45%, 41%, and 50% in 2021, 2022, and 2023, respectively. Kikelom Okere, reporting for Global Television News.
Now, on the foreign scene, 6 months after bringing the curtains down on the 55-year-old Bongo dynasty, Gabon's military leader remains popular despite criticism of authoritarian governance that is slow to fulfill promises. Many Gabonese rejoiced when Ali Bongo was overthrown in a bloodless coup on August 30th, an hour after being proclaimed the winner of a presidential election, which the army and opposition declared fraudulent. Coup leader General Brice Oligui Nguema, 48, was swiftly sworn in as transitional president of the oil-rich Central African nation, promising a return of civilian rule with elections. Polls have since been set up for August 2025 on the timetable that first foresees national dialogue scheduled for April this year that will be made up of all the country's vital actors. French President Emmanuel Macron has said it is key for Europe's security to defeat Russia in Ukraine amid urgent pleas for more weapons from Kyiv. He was speaking in Paris, where he said that European leaders had agreed to set up a coalition to give Ukraine medium and long-range missiles and bombs. He added that there was no consensus on sending Western troops to Ukraine, but nothing should be excluded. Russian troops made recent gains in Ukraine, which faces big arms shortages. Kyiv is critically dependent on modern armory supplies from its Western allies, particularly the U.S., to be able to continue fighting Russia, a much bigger military force with an abundance of artillery ammunition. U.S. President Joe Biden says he hopes to have a ceasefire in the war between Israel and Hamas in Gaza. His comments come amid reports of some progress in indirect negotiations involving Israeli and Hamas officials. It would involve aid deliveries to Gaza and the release of more hostages taken during the 7th October Hamas attacks. Israel has not commented, and Hamas officials have indicated the two sides are not as close to a ceasefire deal as Biden suggested. A quick look at the business desk. The Senate Committee on National Agency for Science, Engineering Infrastructure, NASENI, has commended the agency for championing local content development of solar-powered smart irrigation, tricycles, electric motorbikes, and others with accelerated technology transfer. The chairman, Senate Committee on NASENI, Francis Onyewuchi, who led other members of the Committee on Oversight visits in NASENI headquarters Abuja, expressed satisfaction while being conducted by the Executive Vice Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of the agency, Khalil Halilu. Other products inspected include animal feed, processing machines, and NASENI transformers, electric motorcycles and tricycles, as well as the NASENI home and irrigation solar systems. Now, the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has declared that it will be selling foreign exchange valued at $20,000 to all qualifying bureau de change operators nationwide. This initiative is component of larger attempt by the Apex Bank to stabilize the Naira's exchange rate and reduce the forces that fuel the black market. This was made public by the top bank in a fresh circular that was signed by Hassan Mahmoud, the director of the Trade and Exchange Department. It said the allocation will be sold at a rate of 1,301 naira per dollars, reflecting the lower band rate of executed spot transactions at the Nigerian Autonomous Foreign Exchange Market as of the previous trading day dated February 27, 2024. Communities in Adamawa, Jos, Taraba and Gombe State will experience 4-hour power outages by February 27th. The Transmission Company of Nigeria disclosed in a statement signed by its Public Affairs General Manager, Ndidi Mba. According to Mba, the outages would occur between the TCN maintenance crew would test and inaugurate the new red phase current transformer at Gombe Transmission Substation from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. As a result, Mba noted that the Jos and Yola electricity distribution companies would be unable to supply electricity to their customers within Gombe, Biu, Potiskum, Yola, Savannah, Jalingo, Mayo, Belwa and Damaturu towns within the 4 hours. Now, lastly, on entertainment, Australian police are investigating an allegation by a paparazzo that he was assaulted by Taylor Swift's father, Ben McDonald, who is 51, accused Scott Swift, 71, of striking his face on a Sydney wharf. He did not need medical help. The confrontation happened after Swift and the pop megastar disembarked from a yacht. A spokesperson from the singer did not address the assault claim, but said two people had behaved aggressively towards them. And that's it on the news cycle, and it came to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. We're on Star Times, channel 276. Kindly follow us on all social media platforms using at Global TV NG and other handles now showing on your screen. I'm Queen Agaba. Thank you for watching and see you again.